Okay, so this guy, Brock Pierce, right? Visionary, tech genius, master manipulator. Some even call him a straight-up grifter.
Yeah.
He's been called it all.
I mean, you're not wrong.
You go from being a child star, he was in the Mighty Ducks, right, to becoming a crypto king. It's a pretty wild story.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of twists and turns.
We've got articles, Wikipedia entries, even a whole BuzzFeed investigation, and they'll kind of paint a different picture of who this guy is.
Yeah, it's hard to get a straight read on him.
So is he actually changing the world with his talents? Or is it all just a clever act?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
That's what we're going to try to figure out today.
That's what we're here for.
This is our deep dive into Brock Pierce.
It's going to be a wild ride, that's for sure.
So where do we even start with this guy?
Well, I think the key is to look beyond the headlines and the hype, right? We got to analyze what he actually did, understand the context of all of it, and, connect the dots.
See if there's a pattern, right?
Exactly.
Because on the surface, he just seems to have this knack for being in the right place at the right time. Early internet, boom, he's there. Online gaming explodes. There he's again.
And then crypto.
Yeah. It's like, how does this guy always end up right where the money is?
Is it luck? Genius? Or something a little more calculated?
I mean, is he just that good?
It's tough to say. Let's start with his early days, though. Successful child actor, right? I mean, that takes drive, even at a young age.
Ambition, for sure.
Yeah. And then you've got Digital Entertainment Network D.
That was before YouTube, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, way before. One of the first online video platforms, super ambitious.
He was right in the middle of that, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely. He was a major player.
Right.
But things went south, and they went south fast.
Yeah, that whole thing crashed and burned big time. Lots of accusations of sexual abuse against Pierce and some of the other executives.
Lawsuits, bankruptcy, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Some of the key players ended up fleeing to Spain.
Including Pierce.
Yep.
He's always denied any wrongdoing, though.
Consistently, yeah.
Says people are just trying to get money from him.
Right.
So what do we make of that?
It's a really dark chapter, no doubt about it. And even though Pierce denies everything, even being named in all those lawsuits casts a shadow.
It's hard to just ignore, right?
Right. And then the thing is, this pattern of accusations and denials,
It kind of follows him.
yeah, it pops up throughout his career.
It's like every time he's about to hit it big, something controversial pops up.
Exactly.
Take Internet Gaming Entertainment, IGE.
Yes, IG.
This guy makes a fortune buying and selling virtual currency in online games. Brilliant idea, right?
Way ahead of the curve, for sure, capitalizing on a whole new market.
It was a gold mine.
But it did spark some, ethical debates.
People thought it was kind of shady.
Yeah, exploiting gamers, that kind of thing. There was even a class action lawsuit. And guess what?
Pierce says he wasn't involved,
Denies any official role.
even though some people said he was basically running the show.
Yeah, despite all the claims to the contrary.
So either this guy has the worst luck in the world,
Darn.
or there's something else going on here.
Right.
So DN implodes, IGE gets hit with lawsuits.
But he doesn't disappear.
No, he jumps right into Bitcoin, becomes a major player in the whole crypto world,
Yeah.
co-founds Blockchain Capital.
One of the very first Bitcoin venture capital firms.
And then there's Block.one
The company behind the EOS.io software.
and their ICO. Oh man, their ICO.
With the EOS token, right?
They raised a record-breaking $4 billion.
4 billion.
Good dollars.
I mean, even in the crazy world of crypto,
That's a lot of money.
that kind of success.
It tells you something.
He's got to have a real talent for this stuff.
Identifying and capitalizing on those emerging trends.
Yeah, he seems to have a real knack for it.
But
But there's always a but with this guy, right?
there's always a but.
Here comes the SEC,
Knocking on the door.
the Securities and Exchange Commission. They slapped Block.one with a $24 million fine.
For running an unregistered security sale. Basically, they said, you can't just raise billions without playing by the rules.
Exactly.
So was Pierce being a visionary, pushing the boundaries of a new financial system?
Or was he deliberately skirting regulations just to make as much money as possible?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, is he a trailblazer or a rule breaker?
And that's just the SEC fine. There's also that other lawsuit against Pierce and other Block.one execs
Alleging fraud, right?
related to that EOS token sale.
They were accused of hyping it up, driving up the price, then dumping their tokens to make a huge profit.
Leaving investors holding the bag.
Exactly. And then, get this, Pierce gets served with court papers
No way.
at his own presidential campaign rally.
You're kidding? Are you serious?
I'm serious.
This is crazy.
No, right?
Okay, so we've got Success, controversy, legal battles. It's like a roller coaster.
It is.
But it does make you wonder, this pattern, is it just reckless ambition? Or is there something more calculated going on?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Reckless or calculated?
Because even with the SEC on his back and the lawsuits piling up
He decides to run for president.
in 2020.
Yep. Missed filing deadlines in a bunch of states. Didn't win, obviously. But his platform, America 2.0.
That was interesting.
Right. The government embracing technology, even a universal basic income funded by crypto.
It was bold.
It was definitely different.
And he wanted to legalize marijuana.
Oh, yeah.
He was all about disrupting the status quo in tech, in finance, even in politics.
It's definitely a theme throughout his career, that's for sure.
Disruption. But is it disruption for the good of society? Or is it disruption for his own personal gain?
That's what we're trying to figure out.
That's the puzzle.
The Brock-Pierce puzzle. So we're seeing this pattern, right? Innovation, controversy, they seem to go hand in hand with Brock-Pierce.
It's like they're two sides of the same coin.
But to really figure out if he's a visionary or just an opportunist, I think we need to really dig into some specific examples.
Yeah, let's get into the weeds a little bit.
Let's go back to DEN, Digital Entertainment Network. This wasn't just a company that failed. It was like a total implosion.
And those allegations, they were pretty serious.
Yeah, serious misconduct.
Multiple lawsuits alleging sexual abuse
At parties hosted by DEN executives.
with underage boys allegedly present
And Pierce was named in several of those lawsuits.
as a co-defendant.
Yeah. Now, Pierce has always denied everything.
He says it's all lies.
Vehemently denies it. But you can't ignore the sheer number of lawsuits.
And the stories from the alleged victims.
They're pretty detailed and they're disturbing.
This isn't just bad business decisions. We're talking potential criminal behavior.
Right. And even though Pierce was never charged,
His association with Mark Collins Rector,
DEN's co-founder.
who later pleaded guilty to charges related to sex with a minor.
Yeah.
That's pretty damning.
It's definitely troubling. And then there's the fact that Pierce,
He fled to Spain
with other DEN execs.
right when those allegations came out.
It makes you wonder, were they just trying to avoid bad press?
Or were they running from something more serious?
Trying to evade justice?
It's not a good look.
No, it really feeds into this perception that Pierce avoids accountability.
Yeah, it does.
And the crazy thing is, even though this all happened decades ago,
It keeps coming back to haunt him.
it really does. Like when he was elected to the board of the Bitcoin Foundation,
The big deal in the crypto world.
huge.
And people were outraged.
There were protests, high-profile resignations.
They didn't want him there.
Nope. It just shows you that past actions have consequences, especially in an industry that's all about trust and transparency.
Yeah, you need people to believe in you in that world.
Exactly. And for some people, Pierce's presence just destroyed that trust.
Even if he was this brilliant tech mind, there were just too many questions about his character.
About his ethics.
Okay, so let's fast forward a bit to Block.one
The EO.io software.
and that massive $4 billion ICO.
Record-breaking.
This is where Pierce really hits it big financially.
Right. But this is also where the legal problems get really serious.
The SEC comes knocking
$24 million fine.
for that unregistered securities sale.
Some people might say $24 million is nothing compared to the billions they raised.
A slap on the wrist.
Right, like he got away with it. But I think the SEC fine sent a message
That the free-for-all was over.
that the Wild West days of ICOs were coming to an end.
It forced the whole industry to grow up a bit.
To take regulations seriously.
Yeah. And then there's that separate lawsuit, right?
Against Pierce and other Block.one execs.
Fraud related to that EOS token sale.
They were accused of basically misleading investors, hyping up the project just to inflate the price.
Pump and dump.
Yeah.
So they made a ton of money, but ordinary investors got screwed.
That's the accusation.
And that's what really feeds the grifter narrative.
Right. Exploiting others for personal gain.
If it's true, it's a pattern of behavior. It's not just pushing boundaries. It's like deliberately deceiving people.
Manipulating them to make money.
And then to top it all off,
He gets served with court papers.
for this lawsuit, at his own presidential campaign rally.
It's almost too perfect, isn't it?
It's like something out of a movie.
I know, right?
So what do we make of that? I mean, who launches a presidential campaign while facing serious legal trouble?
Right. Was he just incredibly arrogant? Or was he trying to distract from the accusations?
Maybe the whole campaign was just a publicity stunt.
It's hard to say for sure, but it makes you question his motives.
Yeah, it does.
This is where we need to be careful. We got to separate the hype from the substance.
The image from the reality.
Because when you look at Pierce's actions, his track record,
There's this consistent pattern.
put controversy of legal
It
battle
follows him everywhere.
like a shadow.
So is it all just bad luck? Is he just a victim of circumstance? Or is there something darker going on?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. And to try to answer it.
We need to look at his other ventures,
His political ambition?
his whole impact on the crypto landscape.
Okay, so we've gone through a lot with Brock Pierce.
We have, from child actor to tech entrepreneur, crypto pioneer.
Even a presidential candidate.
It's a wild ride.
It is. And every step of the way, there's this.
Controversy.
Yeah, controversy seems to follow him everywhere.
It's an interesting story, for sure. Makes you think about how we judge success these days.
Ambition.
Yeah, in a world where the lines between innovation and
Exploitation.
yeah, exploitation get kind of blurry.
Because you can't deny Pierce has been part of some groundbreaking stuff.
Oh, absolutely. He was early on the Bitcoin train.
Helped build a platform for those decentralized applications with economies.io, co-founded Tether.
Which, yeah, it's got its own controversies.
It has. But it did play a big role in the whole stablecoin evolution.
For sure, those are real contributions to tech, to the crypto world.
You can't take that away from him.
He's clearly got a sharp mind, a knack for spotting those opportunities.
But the question is...
At what cost?
Exactly. Because for every success story, there's that shadow.
Lurking right behind it.
The sexual abuse allegations from DN. The ethical questions around IGE.
The SEC fine.
That ongoing lawsuit alleging fraud.
It paints a certain picture, someone who pushes the boundaries.
Maybe even crosses the line to get what he wants.
That's what makes this so tough to figure out. Is he a visionary who's just misunderstood?
Or is he a master manipulator?
Building a persona to avoid responsibility.
He's almost like... He's playing a character, isn't he?
It's possible.
The charming child star, the daring entrepreneur, the tech-savvy politician.
It's all very carefully crafted.
But when you peel back those layers...
You see a pattern.
And it's not really about altruism.
It's more about self-preservation and making as much money as possible.
And that's where it gets tricky, right?
Intent. Was he really trying to make things better? Or was it all a scheme to get rich?
It's hard to know.
There's no easy answer. But the evidence does seem to point in a certain direction.
And that's what makes this whole grifter-gifted thing so hard to answer.
There's no smoking gun, no definitive proof.
It's all about interpretation, connecting the dots,
forming your own conclusions.
based on what we know.
And I think that's valuable in itself.
Yeah.
Because we live in a world where image is everything.
And information gets twisted.
All the time.
We need to be critical thinkers.
Not skeptical.
Especially those who act like they have all the answers.
Exactly.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Brock Pierce,
The enigmatic Brock Pierce.
we leave you with this question.
A question for all of us.
In a world where charisma and controversy are basically best friends,
And where ambition can easily turn into deception.
how can you tell the real visionaries?
From the con artists.
It's a tough one.
It is.
But by looking at the evidence
Challenging what we think we know.
and refusing to be blinded by charm or big promises,
We can start to see through the illusions.
and understand the people who shape our world,
That's the goal.